I have been a lifelong soap opera fan. I've seen Guiding Light from I'm 38, most on and off my life, certainly more on the last 15 years. And it's just, you know.
So you grew up watching me.
Yeah. How's that? Is that for you?
That sounds good.
How has this been for you these last few months? What was it like for you upon learning that the show had
April
been
Fool's Day?
on April Fool's Day? What was that like for you to hear that news?
Oh, I mean, it was devastating, as it was for everybody, you know. I truly did think it probably was a joke, except that Ellen Wheeler called me and Barbara Bloom called me. When I came home, I was watching, I was at the theater seeing West Side Story with a friend of mine, and I came home and there were 28 messages on my machine, so I knew something had happened. And the first one was Ellen Wheeler, the second one was Barbara Bloom, and it went on from there. So I think I was stunned more than anything. I just couldn't believe that something that has been the emotional consciousness of our country could be taken off, you know. Okay, you need to be quiet in there. Who is it? Alan? 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 Shh. Okay. I can tell everybody what to do. I've been here long enough, and I do it. I use it.
And you have been on this cast longer than everybody else has.
I have been, especially because I stayed the whole time. A lot of people came and went to make it in Hollywood, and they're back. Some of them aren't, but a lot of them are. And I knew I wasn't going to make it in Hollywood, so I just happily stayed here. And, you know, I did a lot of movies here, too. So it was nice.
What have been the biggest changes you have seen in the years that you've been at Guiding Light? I believe you started in 1982?
83, yeah.
What have you perceived as some of the biggest changes in the last 26 years?
Yeah. Well, you know, I just love this new mode that we're doing it, that we're outside, that we're, you know, I really love what has happened under Ellen's leadership here. That, I mean, obviously it was to save money in part, but I think the bonding of everybody out here has been astounding, and I think that's what I've noticed, is a great deal of bonding. We used to bond in the early days because we'd work till 3 in the morning all the time, and we'd be at parties and dances, so we'd all be close. And then when you started working shorter hours, which we did maybe 15 years ago, 10 years ago, people just went to their dressing rooms. They never really were close to one another. And out here, you know, you have to become the best of friends because you're here a lot of the day with everybody else, and it's wonderful. I think the cast is so close because of that. And that's one day Beth Chamberlain and I were sitting next to each other on a bench doing a scene, and we looked at each other after April Fool's Day, and we started to cry because we knew we weren't going to sit on that bench forever, although I personally really believe we're going to be picked up by cable. I'm the only person to feel this way. Not the only, but Frank Dacopoulos feels it too.
Yeah. In these 26 years, when viewers see you every day, I think that they often get a sense that they know who Tina Sloan is. How would you say you're different from Lillian?
Well, I think Lillian probably is afraid to fly. She's afraid. She's gotten much, much stronger, certainly. But I think she's more fearful. She just wants to be happy in her own milieu. I mean, if Buzz had said to her, come to Australia with me recently, I would have said, oh, I don't think so. Although maybe for Buzz I would have gone. I'd probably do anything for Buzz. Which I do. Yeah, Lillian would have. Yeah. Tina's pretty adventurous. I mean, I travel around the world, and I just expand more than I think Lillian was. But I think we're both very happy and very loyal, and very good friends to people, and when we fall in love greatly. And we love our children beyond belief, both of us. And we both love our jobs. I think we have a lot in common. I mean, she loves her nursing, and I love my acting.
Over the years, Lillian has really become the quintessential supporting character. She's been often used to, support storylines. How has that been for you as an actress to be a supporting player?
Well, I think what was good for me, I mean, I didn't mind doing this. Well, I did. Sure I did. I mean, I've written a play, a one-woman play, based on the fact of diminishing as you get older. I mean, when I came to this show, I was in my 40s. And Gail Colby said to me, I'm bringing you here for 6 months because we need a strong woman to play a weak woman, when I was playing Bradley's abused wife. And I didn't come on in a part that was strong like a Reva part. And I just sort of got used to it. And it was fine when my son was young and I could be a mommy and everything. And then it got really hard sort of in my 50s. I found it very, very difficult to sort of be the person that was sort of in the background. But out of it, I wrote this one-woman play, and I wrote a book called Changing Shoes, about the fact that you go from the spiky, sexy high heels to the black flats eventually, and the bunny slippers, as you pad around, feeling sorry for yourself. But I really got over that. By writing this play and this book, I got over it, and I sort of came into this wise woman part of my life, which I tell people what to do, and they listen. And I'm having much more to do on the show right now. It's fascinating to me that I'm on constantly. And I also did a lot of movies in those times when I wasn't working on the show. I mean, I did maybe 8 or 9 movies with people like Ben Affleck and Al Pacino and Woody Allen, a couple of Woody Allens and Jodie Foster. So, I mean, I used that time in a way that I think I wouldn't have been able to otherwise. And I traveled a lot during that time, too. Thank you.
Now, in the last 6 months, Lillian has come almost full circle and has come back to being a front central force in Springfield.
But as a strong person.
As a strong person.
Right.
And I think that was really exemplified when Buzz grabbed her.
Oh, wasn't that wonderful?
And Lillian said, no, we're not doing this anymore. What was that like for you?
Well, I helped with that, to tell you the truth, because when he grabbed me, I said to our writer, I said, this brings back Bradley. And she said, put it in. So I just stuck in,
So
I
that
can't
was
go
you
there.
who brought that history back.
Yes, because, we know, I mean, you've lived that history. I mean, the writers are just, aren't, well, that's not true. They are a little bit older, but, they knew the story, but they're doing so many things that didn't come through. But Jill Hurst, who's our head writer right now with Ellen, said she did recognize it, and she was so for it when I mentioned that, it just brought up all that abuse, all that knocking me against the walls and black eyes and things. And I wasn't going to take it from Buzz, and I think it was a turning point. I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't thought that was the turning point, but I think that may have been Lillian's turning point. That's really good. I didn't think of that.
Sure. That was the first time I had seen her really stand up for herself and say, no, I'm never going to go through this again. And I think that was a great message for the viewers.
Oh, I
who had
think
seen
it is
Lillian
too.
traumatized.
She's strong
and realized, that's never going to happen again. And that when people are going through this in real life, you can tell I'm a therapist, I'm a straight, that I think it's a great message that people can change the cycle.
They can change the cycle.
And I think Lillian's been a great example of that.
I do think falling in love with Buzz was a huge change because she started having fun. She stopped taking care of Lizzie constantly, James, although he was always up in the computer room, but I stopped taking care of him. I was always there to take care of my grandchildren and Beth. And now it's me, I mean, I'm going to get married. It's my turn.
It's great.
Yeah.
Over the last 26 years, what was your favorite storyline?
Oh, I think the breast cancer. I mean, because we reached so many people. I didn't like the Maureen Ed part of it, of course.
Right. Now, many people, I think, gave Lillian a hard time.
I know.
Blamed her for Maureen's death. Did you ever personally get hate mail or a negative fan reaction?
Oh, I certainly did. I sure did. And the thing was that, Ellen Parker, who played Maureen, was a good friend of mine, and I've said this before. I couldn't write the letter. I mean, I was literally sick to my stomach. Rather than when I had to write the letter that Ed, I would put Ed, I won't, something about we'd slept together that Maureen would open and that would cause the whole cycle. And it was the beginning of the cycle. I got up from the desk. I'll never forget where I was sitting, and I couldn't write it. I'd go to the ladies' room, I'd come back, and I'd start to write it, and I'd start to cry, and I'd go off again. And finally, Ellen came over to me and said, Tina, it's not you. It's the writers that wrote this story, not you. So you're just going to have to get over it because everybody wants to go home. So I wrote the letter. But it traumatized me that I would do that, and of course Maeve, Vanessa, who's now become a great friend of Lillian's, was furious, and I'd loved Ed so much, and he was undone. I mean, we undid a lot with that one night we slept together. Lillian has never done anything bad in her whole life except one night, and look at the repercussions. That taught her not to be naughty ever.
That's why she took everybody's temperature for decades after that.
That's right. Yeah, she was doing penance.
Right.
And I think I said the other day, you haven't seen it yet, but I said, she says to Philip said, what are you doing in the cemetery? I said, well, I was putting flowers on Maureen's grave, which I do all the time. And in my mind, I think Lillian does do that. I'm sure she does that. She would care that much, I think.